Yay, welcome, Sunday morning yoga church. Here we are, September 19th. And we are having a lovely day here in northeastern Oklahoma. And today's practice, we're doing I really like this one when I've done it a few times this week. It's just soothing and rhythmic and grounding, I think. And it focuses primarily on hips and twists. So it's kind of a hippie, twisty, vata soothing, slow flow. If you have two blocks, great. If you have one block, great. If you don't have blocks, that's okay too. I think the blocks make the practice even more grounding and less cumbersome in my body, but you do you, and utilize what props you have or not. We're going to start lying down on our backs. And when you get onto your back, if you will bend your knees and just set your feet on the floor about 6 inches apart. And I want you to put your hands on your hip points. Now, we often call these the hip bones in just, anatomy parlance, but they're actually the ASIS. But, oh, shit. Sorry, it's October 13th. Apparently, I said it was September 19th. I have no idea what's happening. Thank you. Thank you for the correction, brother. Okay, so yeah, welcome. It's October 13th, and I actually even have the date on my laptop in front of me. But anyway, so if you put your hands on these bony protuberances, these bony, what we typically call the hip bones, these are your ASIS, the anterior superior iliac spine, which you can see why saying hip bone is just an easier, softer way. But if you'll place your hands on these bones, and then let your fingers kind of make a triangle down towards your pubic bone. And then I just want you to rock a little back and forth. We're not doing any major cat-cow breathing experimentation right now, but just a little subtle rock back and forth, because I want you to feel what a neutral pelvis feels like when you're on your back. So as you tilt the hip points forward, that's an anterior tilt to the pelvis. And that's when your low back lifts up off the floor slightly. And when you draw the hip points up towards your ribs, and you kind of lift the tailbone just a little, that's a posterior tilt to your pelvis. Okay. And I just want you to play with that just a few times, just rocking posterior and anterior. And notice, is there any discomfort in your lower back when you're in one expression over the other? Does one feel more natural? Do you find that maybe you live in a posterior tilt, or maybe you live in an anterior tilt most of the day? I want you to now just establish a neutral pelvis. So in other words, if your pelvis, when we refer to the pelvis as a bowl, right? The pelvic bowl or the pelvic basin, if you were to draw your hip points up and go into that posterior tilt, if there were water in your pelvic bowl, it would spill out the back. And as you draw the hip points forward and arch your low back slightly, the water would spill out the front. Now, finding a neutral pelvis where your pubic bone and your two hip points are in the same level, the same plane. And when you find that, when you establish that, I just want you to do a quick check-in. How does that feel in your body? Does it feel awkward? Where is your lower back, your lumbar spine in relationship to the mat? What happens if you engage the abdominal muscles slightly, particularly the lower abs? I'm just getting a sense, a real tangible, tactile sense of a neutral pelvis. Okay, great, good. Now I'm gonna have you stretch your left leg down onto the floor. Keep your right knee bent and your right foot on the mat. Take your arms out like a T. Good. We're going to keep the head, shoulders, and arms on the floor. But when you inhale, I want you to press your right foot into the floor, shear your right knee forward, like towards your left toes. There might be just a little cross of the midline, and let your right hip and right low back come up off the floor. Good. And then rock down as you inhale, or exhale rather. And then inhale again, press the knee forward, lengthening the quadriceps, lengthening the femur bone, lifting the right, did I say left knee? I meant right knee. Lifting the right buttock, low back, and even the low ribs up. And just keep this rocking movement, pressing the right knee forward as you breathe in. It's not really going across the body. Good. So we're getting this arch, this extension to the spine, this arch to the back. Do this a couple more times, inhaling, gliding forward, exhale, settling down. And maybe one more time, inhale, gliding forward. Keep the shoulders and the head heavy. Excellent, good. And then stretch your right leg down onto the mat. Take a moment, and just check in, right leg, right foot, left foot. Right buttock, left buttock, check in with the SI joints, the pelvis. Maybe put your hands on your hip points again. Notice the pelvis is neutral, or if it's gone into its tendencies, which might be something other than neutral. For so many of us, it is. And then bend your left knee, please. Set your left foot onto the mat, fairly close to your bum. And then here we go. On the inhale, press the left foot into the floor, glide the left knee forward, lift the buttock, the low back, the low ribs, and then exhale, come back down to the mat. Good, and then keep going. Keep pressing forward. It's almost like a pumping mechanism on the SI joints. The left SI joint in particular on this side. A pumping mechanism happening with the sacral plexus, as well as the sciatic nerve. And as you do this a few more times, just being acutely aware, how does this side differ from the previous side, or does it? Is there any little discomforts in the knee or the low back? Let's go 2 more times. Head and arms are heavy, but the lower body is kind of like pumping the aquifer. Great. And pull your right knee up, set your right foot to the floor. And with your arms still at your sides, or maybe down a little closer to your body, if that feels better for you, let's go through 3 rounds of cat-cow. So on the inhalation, arching the low back, noticing the pelvis moving into that anterior tilt. And on the exhale, rounding the lower back, pressing the lumbar vertebrae into the mat. And now you're in that posterior tilt. Arching for the anterior, rounding for the posterior. Terrific. Now, when you've completed 3 cat-cow breaths, I want you to roll to your left side for open book. So when you get onto your left side, if your left shoulder feels a little scrunched up there, put a pillow underneath your head, or a blanket underneath your head, so you've got a little more space to work with. Draw your knees up towards your arms. Take your arms out in front of you. And draw your knees up close, stacking your knees one on top of the other. And then when you're ready, on the inhale, you're going to sweep your right arm up and back behind you. And when you exhale, you're going to bring your right arm over to your left arm once more. Good. And you're going to do 3 more of those for a total of 4. Pausing and petting the dog as the arm comes up. Okay. When you get to your 4th one, as your arm reaches beyond, behind you, the right arm, I want you to stay there. And you're welcome to place your left hand to the outside of your right knee or thigh, if that feels grounding for you. And then while we're here, I want you to just visualize your low back, visualize your pelvis. Notice if you're in an anterior or posterior tilt. In fact, even in this shape, you can do a really subtle, like arching the low back and then maybe a little posterior tilt to the pelvis. And just rock the pelvis a couple of times, noticing how it feels different. Noticing the changes that take place, and then see if you can find that neutral pelvis even in this twist. Once you've established neutrality in the pelvis, bring your awareness to your right arm. I want you to press that right shoulder into the floor, like activate muscles and press down and spread your fingers wide. Open the webbing between your fingers. Good. Take a breath in. And when you exhale, relax your right shoulder, bring your right arm up and over, stack it over your left arm. Good, and let's pause. No longer in fast forward, no longer in rewind, but we're just pausing in the present moment. Okie dokie. And let's roll over to the other side. Take your time. Coming onto your right shoulder, and this shoulder might present differently than the left. So if you want to put a pillow or a blanket under your head, please, please, please do. Stack your knees, draw your knees up close, left arm over right arm, and when you're ready, begin on the inhale, left arm up and back. Oh yeah, exhaling, left arm forward, and you'll do this 4 times. And on the 4th one, when you get there, stay there. If you want to place your right hand to the outside of your left knee or thigh, maybe hug your knees up a little closer, and then right away go into the pelvis. And maybe a little anterior, posterior tilts, tiny little moves, very subtle, doesn't have to be huge, shouldn't be huge. Let it be little micro movements, just a couple of times, and then see if you can land into a neutral pelvis. At that point, put your awareness into your left shoulder. Plant your left shoulder firmly onto the floor. Spread your fingers. Good. Give yourself a rich inhalation. And then slowly bring your left arm up and over your right arm and pause. I don't know why I thought it was September. Goodness gracious. Take another breath lying on your side, and then come onto your back, pull your knees into your chest. Good. Cup your hands over your knees so your fingers reach over the knees, pointing towards the shin bones, knees to chest, lying on your back. And then you're going to make circles with your knees, your circles with your femurs. Just take 3 big circles out to one side, letting your legs move away from your body, your thighs move away from your body, and then pull them back in, and then 3 times the other direction. And go slow, just rock gently on your pelvis, rock gently on your SI joints. Good. And then we're going to step into supine pigeon, or called eye of the needle. Right ankle to the top of your left knee. Not going to stay a long time, but Just drop into this a little bit and explore what's happening in the outside or in the outer right hip, or maybe deep in the right hip in the piriformis. You might have some sensation moving along your outer thigh. Probably different for each individual on the screen. And just once you get the right ankle over the left knee, pull the left leg towards your chest, bring your hands, oh, maybe behind your left thigh or around your left shin. Good. And then even in this shape, I want you to experiment with that rocking of the pelvis. Find that anterior tilt as you arch the low back. It's very subtle away. I mean, you might take the low back off the floor just enough to slide an envelope underneath it, right? It's really subtle. And then draw the low back into the floor. And just a couple times, this little anterior, posterior, cat-cow movement in the pelvis. Notice if that changes anything in the quality of the sensation that you feel. Yeah, it looks great. Good. And then let's change sides, change legs. Take your time doing this. Taking your left ankle now to the top of your right knee and drawing your right leg into your chest. Now, this particular shape, I usually like to stay in this for, at least a minute and a half, sometimes 2 minutes or longer. But for our purposes this morning, we're just going to drop in here for about 60 seconds, maybe just a little over a minute, long enough for you to get some love in that left hip. And then again, experimenting just 3 or 4 times with that rocking of the pelvis. Oh. Okie dokie. How about unpacking your legs? Pull your knees to your chest. And take your arms out like a T and just rock your knees from side to side 2 or 3 times. Rocking across the sacrum, rocking across the SI joints. Good. Come onto your belly now, if you would. Stretch your legs out behind you. Stack your hands and rest your forehead on the back of your stacked hands. Good. And once you get situated onto the belly in the prone position, I'm going to have you tuck your toes under, fire up your legs so your kneecaps are going to lift up off the floor, and then kind of inch your toes forward towards your knees. They're not really going to go very far, but it's really going to fire up the legs, open up the soles of your feet and the Achilles tendon and all the muscles along the back of your legs. Good. Big, deep breath into the back of the kneecaps as though that were possible. Good. And then relax your feet, relax your toes. Let your legs fall to the mat. And I'm going to have you lift your right leg. Don't go too high. I want the right hip point to stay down. I want you to press the pubic bone into the floor. Just take your right leg up, maybe like an inch off the floor. Good. And then I'm going to have you bend your right knee. Now keep your knee and thigh lifted. Good. And then extend your right leg again. We're going to do this 5 times, just a little pumping of the back of the knee and then bending with the knee lifted. You're really engaging hamstrings. In fact, if you want, take one of your hands around, well, maybe your right hand, I suppose, and get a feel of your hamstrings and your right buttock engaging. A couple more times, a total of 5, just bending, flexing, and extending the right leg, all the while keeping the knee slightly elevated. Now on your 5th one, if you'll keep your leg extended, raised up off the floor, and then free your left arm and take your left arm forward, and then lift your arm, head and chest up off the floor. So you've got left arm, right leg elevated. Very nice, good. Right hip shears down. Good, pressing all 3 points of contact into the mat, the 2 hip points and the pubic bone. Beautiful, relax, come back down to the mat. Stack your hands once more. And then here we go, second side. You're gonna lift your left leg up just an inch or two off the floor, not too high, but enough that the knee comes up off the floor. Good. And then here we go. We're gonna pump the aquifer of the kneecap 5 times. Go slow. Do you really get a feel that your hamstrings are engaging to flex the knee, to bend the knee? Keep the toes elevated as you extend the leg. Try not to touch the floor if you can. Good. Pelvis stays down. When you hit that 5th one, you're going to extend the left leg, keeping it elevated off the floor. Free your right arm and take your right arm forward and then up, 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 up. Right arm, head and chest. Very nice. That looks great, everybody. Good. Leg is extended. Reach the leg back behind you. That's the ticket. Good, Kathy. Good. Both hip points down, pubic bone down. Beautiful. And then lower down, relax. Oh, good. Take your hands to opposite elbows and walk your elbows in so they're a little closer towards your chest. And you're going to lift up into this version of Sphinx pose. Good. Elbows will be underneath your shoulders, forearms across the top of the mat. Good. And then press into the mat with your elbows and forearms and drag the navel, the umbilicus forward. Oh, reaching forward. Good. And drop your shoulders down away from your earlobes, long neck. Excellent. Good. And then soften your body. Let yourself come down to the mat. Place your hands underneath your shoulders and push yourself up onto your hands and your knees. Take your time with this transition. So on hands and knees, can you find neutral pelvis? And then let's inhale into the cow of cat-cow, looking forward. Dropping into child's pose as you exhale. Oh, hips to heels, belly to thighs. Bring yourself forward to staff as you inhale. Downward dog as you exhale. Beautiful. Now, here's where a block comes in handy. If you've got your block, I'm going to have you place your block underneath your bum and have a seat in Virasana. The height of the block is up to you. You can go on the second height, you can go on the low height, but bum to the block. If a block isn't available to you today, I'm going to ask you to just sit cross-legged. So both sit bones can be on the floor with little to no, ideally no pain in the knees and the ankles. Bring your left hand just to the left of your left knee and slightly in front. Bring your right hand behind your head with your elbow bent. You're going to breathe in and turn your sternum to the right, look to the right. Breathing out, coil down, bring your right elbow towards your left forearm. Then inhale, sweep the right elbow up. I want you to keep your sitting bones established on the floor or the block. Exhale, coil down. Oh. Good, 2 more times. A total of 4, breathing in. Take your right elbow up, roll your sternum to the right, roll your ribs to the right, and exhale, coil down. Open, beautiful, Jennifer. And exhale down. Good, and then open up. Stay here. Stretch your right arm up. Big diagonal, good. Keep sit bones grounded. Good, and then sweep your right arm forward. Ooh. Ooh, good. And right hand to the floor, slightly in front of your right knee and off to the right, just a skosh. Left hand to the back of your head with the elbow bent. And then on the in-breath, turn and look to the left. And exhale, wind down 4 times. Wow, right out of the gate, I've got major, significant differences in each side. My shoulders are different. Gosh, I mean, the mobility in my upper back is phenomenally different. Keep pelvis steady. I love the use of the block for this, as there's a real tactile sense of grounding, keeping the pelvis anchored. When you get to your 4th one, whenever that works for you, you're going to pause in this open position, turning sternum to the left, and then you're going to release your hand from the back of your head and stretch your left arm up. Good. Bring your left arm forward over your head and then left hand to the floor. Woo, good. Lift up onto your hands and your knees. Set your block to the top of your sticky mat. Good. Find the cow pose as you breathe in. Arching the back. Good. And then exhale, child's pose. Hips come to heels, long spine. Staff pose on the in-breath. Strong through the entire front line of your body. Belly strong, quads strong. Downward dog exhale. Good. Step your right foot forward all the way up to your right hand and bring your back knee down to the floor. Okay. Hands to your right knee, lift yourself up. Now I want you to have a very clear perpendicular left leg. So we're not really leaning into this lunge like so, right? I want the left knee to be directly under the hip. Okay, your block, if you've got it, goes just to the floor off of your right hip. Take your left arm up, pat yourself on the back as you bend the elbow, bring your right hand to your left elbow, and draw the left arm slightly back. Find that neutral pelvis. Ooh, I know it's so tempting to want to sink the pelvis down to the mat and get that big stretch through the hip flexors. Don't go there just yet. Pelvis neutral. Excellent. Stretch your left arm straight up. Bring your right hand to your block and you're going to side bend to the right. Very good. Lifting up, both arms up. Bend your elbows like a cactus. Using the abdominal muscles, turn to the right. Neutral pelvis. Extend your arms. Good. Now you're going to tilt, little tilt-a-whirl. Left hand to the floor. Right arm circles up and over until the right hand comes to the floor. Pick your left knee up. Enjoy that good stretch through the inseam of the left leg. And then step back to downward dog. Oh, yeah. Second side, no time to lose. Left foot steps forward, right knee comes down. Stack your hands on top of your left knee so you can lift your trunk. Take a minute, find that neutral pelvis, find that perpendicular line of the right hip directly over the right knee. Good, belly slightly firm, and then your right hand can come up, right arm up, bend the elbow, pat yourself on the back. And then the left hand comes over to help it out a little bit, drawing the right arm back slightly. Keep it in towards your head as best you can. Belly firm. Excellent. Take your right arm straight up. And then you magically have your block over on the left. And you're gonna take your left hand to your block. Now, when I'm practicing this on my own, I've got my block on the tallest height. Because it's still early in the practice, right? It's early in the day. I don't want a big strain. We're gonna arc over to the left. Good, both arms up, find that vertical line. Bend your elbows, cactus. Keeping that neutral pelvis. Ooh, turn from the navel upward, from the umbilicus upward. Turn to the left. And then extend arms, reach, reach, reach. Good, nice balance, everybody. Nice alignment. And then tilt down, right hand to the floor, let your left arm sweep up and over. Good, and then lift your right knee, get that good sweet stretch. And then step back to downward dog. Fantastic. Good. If you want to come to your knees and find the cow of cat-cow on an inhale, go for it, breathing in. And then you can rock into child's pose as you exhale. Draw yourself forward to staff on the in-breath. And then downward dog on the exhale. Great. Step your right foot forward, please. Keep your left knee lifted, if that works for you. And then this is where two blocks come in handy. Now, if you just have one block, bring the block to the inside of your right foot and fingertips can rest on that one block. I like to have two myself. Fingertips to the blocks. Now, listen, when you inhale, you're going to draw your right hip back, straightening your right leg. And the reason the blocks are so important here is because then I can keep my trunk parallel to the floor and I can get a little bit of extension in the spine. So I'm not like hunching down because it's an inhale. I want to extend the spine and then exhale, bend the right knee and sink a little lower to the mat. Inhale, I don't know if I got my breath right. Inhale, straighten the right leg, look forward. And on the exhale, bend the right knee. Two more times. Inhale, straighten the right leg, pull the right hip back. Lift your chest, look forward. See if you can get a little cobra quality out of the upper back. And exhale, bend the right knee. One more time, y'all. Breathing in. Ooh, pull the right hip back. Oh yeah. Draw the outer right hip back especially. And then exhale. Bend the right knee. Good. If you've got a block under your left hand, put it on its lowest height. 4 times. Inhale, right arm reaches out to the right and up. And exhale down. Inhale, turn to the right. Find your left big toe. And exhale down. Beautiful. 2 more times. Inhale, float the right arm up. And exhale down. Last one. Inhale, twist to the right. Back leg strong. Good. Exhale down, downward facing dog. Really nice. Really nice. Take a couple breaths in downward dog. Move your hips. Take your heels from side to side. How do you feel? What's going on? What's the temperature? And please step your left foot forward. Good. And here we go. Blocks on either side of the left foot, but far enough apart so the blocks are underneath your shoulders. When you inhale, left leg or left hip draws back, left leg straightens. Look forward. Exhale, glide the left knee forward as you sink pelvis a little closer to the mat. And then inhale, left hip draws back, straightening the leg, shoulders back, sternum forward. Exhale, bend the knee. Great, 2 more times, please. On the inhale, straighten the front leg, shoulders back, look forward. That's it, good. And then exhale, bend the knee. Good, last one. Inhale, leg goes back, square the pelvis. And exhale, bend the knee. Good, stay here. Take your right hand block on its lowest height. And then 4 times, inhale, left arm reaches out and up, twisting to the left. Exhale, left arm down. Now that right leg, keep going. 3 more times, please. That right leg is the workhorse. It is static, it is anchored. You find that right big toe. So you avoid the right heel rolling over to the right. That would be telling us that the right hip is kind of collapsing. Keep those hips level. Good, last one, when you're there, 4 times. And then hand to the floor, downward dog. Wonderful. Fantastic. Good, from dog pose, move your hips from side to side if you'd like. If you wanna come to the knees and take one more of those little mini vinyasas, go for it, finding the cow as you inhale, child's pose as you exhale. We're simply staying down dog for 2 more breaths. Okie dokie. Now we're just going to put those 2 little shapes together. From downward dog, take your right foot forward, please. Inhale, straighten your right leg, draw the hip back, look forward, shoulders back. Exhale, bend the right knee, finding that lunge. Inhale, right arm sweeps out to the right and up. Enjoy the twist. Exhale, right hand down. Good, you're going to do that 3 more times. On the in-breath, straighten the right leg. Find the quality of the back bend, especially in your upper back. Exhale, bend the knee. Now we twist to the right on the in-breath. Right arm gracefully sweeps up to the sky, to the ceiling, and exhale, right arm down. Good, 2 more times. How fluid can you make this movement with your breath? I love it. Everyone just going in your own place. Good. Bending the knee. Excellent. Beautiful, Kathy. Everybody so fluid, so smooth. Good. 4 times total. Straighten that front leg. Pull your heart forward. Lift your chest for me. That's the ticket. Good, good. And then, yeah, bend the, yes, beautiful. Bend the knee. Lovely, lovely, sweet little flow. After number 4, you're going to step back to downward dog. Good. We're going to move right into the left leg. You take your time, and then the left foot steps forward, and you're going to do that same little flow on the left side. No great shakes, but just lots of nourishment. Good. Inhale, straighten the leg, look forward. Make this a back bend. Yep. And then exhale, bend the knee and look to the floor. And then inhale, left arm goes up. Open the chest, broaden the collarbones. Exhale, left hand down. Good. And then you straighten the left leg as you inhale. Lift your chest and look forward. Oh, yeah, good. And then bend the knee. Exhale. Left arm up, breathing in. And hand down, breathing out. Good. 2 more times on your own. This looks so lovely. From my vantage point, this just looks really, really fantastic. It's just graceful, it's smooth, it's individual. Terrific. And when you do that 4 times, you'll step back to downward dog. And take your time. There's no rush. Nobody's in a hurry. I love it. Good. Slow the breath. Fantastic. Wonderful. Come to your knees. We're going to finish up with that last little vinyasa, looking forward as you breathe in, finishing up the standing sequence. And then hips to heels as you breathe out. Good. Pull yourself forward to staff pose on the in-breath, strong in the belly, strong in the back. And then downward dog on the exhale. Beautiful. And then come to your knees. Have a seat on your bum. I'm going to sweep your legs out to one side for a seated twist. I want you to take both knees bent, feet to the floor. Pull your left foot in towards just to the outside of your right hip. And let your left knee drop onto the mat. At that point, you're welcome to keep your right foot to the inside of your left knee or take your right foot over your left knee. Choose the shape that's going to allow you to keep your sitting bones anchored into the floor. Take your right fingertips to the floor behind you, and if the floor feels far away, set a block underneath your hand, and then you're just going to sweep your left elbow around the front of your right knee. Take a breath in, pull your ribs up out of your pelvis, and on the exhale, let yourself turn to the right. And as you turn to the right, notice if it's tempting for the right hip to elevate. I want you to press down, drill down, glue down right sitting bone. And the outer right hip, the energy is outer right hip down, right ribs up. Find as much space as you can between the rim of the right hip, that hip point, and your low rib. I like to turn my head then and look over the left shoulder. I kind of like how that in my brain completes the twist, but if it feels comfortable for you to turn your head in another direction, go for it. Wonderful. And we're going to unwind out of the twist, face forward. We're going to come into Sukhasana, cross-legged pose, right? But the shins are pressing forward. So you've got a decent triangle between the legs. I want the right shin out front. With your fingertips to the floor on either side of your hips, lift your sternum out of your belly. And then on an exhalation, walk your hands forward and begin to come into a forward fold. Now your hands can walk forward. I want you to keep your sternum coming forward out over your shins. You can rest your head on a block. And for many of us, that's going to give us a good feeling, I hope, in the outer right hip, maybe through the right SI joint. Good. Shins are stacked one in front of the other. Good. And walk your hands up towards your hips so you can lift your torso up. Good. And then you'll gently rock back and uncross your legs. Bring your feet to the floor with your knees bent. Now you're going to pull your right heel to your left sitting bone, or maybe a little to the outside of your left hip. Step your left foot either just to the inside of your right knee or go over. Good, and then we're gonna twist to the left fingertips start inching behind you. Right elbow gives the old elbow hookasana around the front of the left knee. Good, and then same rules of engagement apply. Right, outer left hip shears down, left ribs begin to ascend, moving up slightly. Good, and then without looking at your left foot, can you give your left foot some attention? I saw that. Press down through the big toe mound, press down through the inner heel. The whole medial arch of the left foot. The medial arch will elevate, but the toe mound and the inner heel is anchoring, rooting, grounding you down. Okie dokie. Let's go a little deeper into the hip now. Unwind yourself facing center. And then we're going to find Sukhasana. Cross-legged shape, stacking left shin in front of right shin. Shins are like touching, right? Touching. Feet and toes are lined up with the opposing knee. And then once the sit bones are anchored, fingertips to the floor, inhale to lift up through the sternum, and then exhale, walk hands forward. What a difference a side makes. Wow. Personally, I like to rest my head onto something, you know, really, frankly, any chance I get, I like to rest my head. My brain is busy. Any chance I have to rest, I will take it. So you can rest your head on a block, or maybe put your elbows on a block and rest your head, your forehead in the base of your palms. Terrific. Now slowly lift yourself upright. Good. Unpack your legs, take your legs forward and put your hands over your kneecaps and kind of massage your kneecaps, circulating, percolating, a couple times in one direction, a couple times in the other direction. Great. And then we're going to revisit Virasana one more time. So Virasana, we started, we sat in that shape at the beginning of the practice. If it's comfortable for you, put a block underneath your bum and come onto your shins. So you're sitting on the shins, block supporting the sit bones. And when you go into the Virasana, the Vira pose, bring the knees together, knees and thighs together, and do look from side to see that your toes are neither sickling inward nor torquing outward like that. If you can see my left foot. I know we all probably sat like that for hours at a time when we were 6 and 7 watching cartoons, but not appropriate for a 50, 60-year-old body. So feet going straight back, no longer appropriate. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to have you bring your left fingertip, or your left arm rather, excuse me, behind your back with your elbow bent. Good. Take a hold of your right arm, if your body will give that to you. And then you're going to drop your right ear over your right shoulder. And so I know the emphasis is on the stretch through the neck and the front of the shoulder right now, but I am going to invite you to bring your internal scope into your pelvis. And notice if you're over exaggerating that curve in your low back, that would be, if you said anterior tilt, that's a gold star. So you might even rock a couple times forward and back on the sit bones and determine a neutral spine. Wonderful. Release your right arm. Lift your head. Bring your right arm behind your back with the elbow bent, and you might be able to grab a hold of your left arm. Yeah, I'm grabbing mine at my left elbow. Good. And then we're going to take the left ear over the left shoulder. And once you find that good sweet spot along the right side of your neck, maybe the anterior deltoid or across the chest, once you tap into that sweet spot, then take your internal awareness down into your pelvis. And you can like rock a little forward, back. Yeah, perfect, Alinda. And then after you do that a couple times, land at neutral, whatever neutral is for you. Great. Release your left arm. Lift your head. Right, now I'm going to end in 3 rounds of alternate nostril breathing. If you can stay in Virasana, great. If you want to get out of that and sit in a different kind of shape or form or on a different platform, even go for it. We're going to dive right into nadi shodhanom, and then from there we're just going to sit in meditation for just a couple of minutes. So I think most everybody knows what's happening, but I'll talk you through the first one. You'll exhale from the left nostril. Inhale from the left. And exhale from the right nostril. Inhale from the right. Exhale from the left. So take 2 more rounds like that on your own, just moving back and forth. Slowing the breath down. Letting the breath glide. Observing any differences in the 2 nostrils. As one feel more spacious and expansive, more open, as one feeling a little tighter, restricted, constricted, maybe congested. And you'll finish with an exhale from the left nostril. And you'll take your time. There's no rushing this kind of yoga. When you do finish up, just if it's comfortable for you to remain seated for the next 4 minutes, great. If it would feel better in your body, your bones, your joints, your heart, to come onto the floor and lie down or crawl up onto your sofa, please do. Feel yourself anchored and grounded. Feel yourself neutral, whether you're sitting or lying. A place of neutrality. And when you discover that your mind has hit the rewind button and you're replaying a conversation that happened, or maybe a conversation you wish had happened, pull yourself back into the pause, the present moment. You might discover the fast forward button has been hit and you're gearing up for the next activity, or planning on a conversation that may or may not ever occur. And just notice that, and then just hit the pause button and come back to neutral. It's such a dance, back and forth, but always we come back to neutral, and we do it gently, we do it consistently, we do it with tenderness, no judgment. And draw your next breath in slightly deeper. Bring some movement into your fingertips, maybe some movement into your toes. And if you're lying down, you can stay on the floor, but just everybody can bring arms up overhead and bring your palms together above your head. And then bring the base of your thumbs to your forehead, to the third eye, the Agni chakra. Steady mind. And then bring your fingertips down towards your lips. Steady breath, steady speech and expression. And finally, place your hands to your heart, steady body, and steady spirit. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me and the others on the screen today.